Welcome to Ink and Inspirations. This is Lisa Brown and I have a tip for you today on creating a masculine card using Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper. Here I have a card with the background created with the Presto Patterns specialty paper from Stampin' Up! It has some raised images that when inked up resemble the embossed resist technique. I'm using a decor stencil called Mostly Vintage, and also I'm going to adhere it to the designer paper with Dotto adhesive to keep it in place while I'm applying the ink. The Dotto will remove easily when I'm finished and I lift it up. I'm starting off with Always Artichoke ink, and to apply to the main image I'm going to use a Stampin' sponge, and I'm going to dab it on, and also you'll see that I'm using a twisting motion. There are quite a few intricate little pieces and patterns within this stencil, so I'm careful when I do this to not distort those images. And I have found that this little dabbing and twisting technique gives a pretty good coverage and also protects the stencil. I'm going to keep applying ink and twisting until I get the coverage that I want. And I love pulling up these stencils and seeing the image beneath it. It's really a beautiful way to add a focal point to your cards and projects. So I'm checking it out and thinking that I need maybe a little bit more to make it darker. I choose the colors for my inking up on this paper according to the cardstock that's on the project. And this one uses Always Artichoke and Crumb Cake and chocolate chip ink. Okay, so I'm going to lift this up now, and I'm just going to rub off that Dotto adhesive. You could also use an adhesive remover to get that off your card, but it removes really easily with your fingers, so that was quick and handy, so that's what I did. Okay, so I'm going to get and start with my lightest color of ink, which is Crumb Cake. I'm going to use another Stampin' sponge and apply it to the entire background lightly. I just rub it around, and you'll see the background, which is like a diamond-shaped grid image, start popping off the page. And looks really pretty. The darker, the more ink you apply, the more prominent it is. So what I do is I take this lightest color and I cover the entire background, and just make sure I have good coverage. And really you can do as much or as little as you like. It's just a matter of personal preference. Okay, so I'm going to switch in just a minute after I get through applying some more in the middle there to Always Artichoke, which is what I used on the stencil. And you'll see that I have another sponge for that color ink, and I'm going to start off of the designer paper and work my way on in a rubbing motion. And what I do is I ink this up around the edges and come onto the page, onto the image, but not completely cover up the crumb cake ink, excuse me. Next is my darkest ink, chocolate chip, and this is what I use to really define the edges. I like, when I do this technique, I like to really bring out the edge of the card, and so you can see me going back and forth along the edge, really rubbing in the ink to make it defined. Okay, so I'm going to finish up here and get it like I like it, and it'll be ready to use on the background just like I did on the previous card. If you have any questions, email me at inkandinspirations.com or Lisa at inkandinspirations.com. Thanks for joining me.